we go. Pigs and rats, my friends.
Pigs and rats, my friend.
Settle down. All right, so what we're going to do here. All right.
This is your show.
Hi, my friends. Hope you are doing well. Mark Ludy. I'm the creator of Pigs and Rats, a card game, a game of strategy, bluffs, and battle. And today I'm going to teach you just how to play. Now, as we crack open a box of Pigs and Rats, you're going to find a rule booklet. You're going to find a score sheet right here. Here's the score sheet. Here's the rule booklet. It has different reference things in it. You'll be able to reference that, or you can just reference this video here. I'm excited to be able to teach this to you. Now, understand that this game is a game that's played in rounds, and it's composed of 3 parts. So every round of play, you're going to have 3 different main parts to it. The first part is the risk. The second part is the MELD. And the third part is, together now, battle. The battle! That's right. All right. So the objective of this game is to make 1,500 points. That, or you can play the best of 5 rounds. If you both coast across 1,500 points, whoever has the highest number at the end is the winner. All glory goes to them. Now I'm going to first introduce you to this deck of cards. It's a very distinctive cards. Now most playing cards, you'll have 4 suits. You have hearts, diamonds, spades, and clubs. Well, in Pigs and Rats, you have pigs, rats, dogs, and cats. There's 4 suits as well. In Pigs and Rats, you have the king, which is the strongest card, most powerful in a suit. And then you have the queen, all right? The queen. Do you notice that there's also 2 of every single card in the deck? That's critical to remember. But then we have the priest, we have the warrior, we have the spy. And lastly, we have the baker. But don't despise that lowly baker, because that baker, if played right, can sometimes beat a king. Not always. But in here, you'll see all the different cards in every single suit. So the cards, you'll note, there's 6 distinct cards in every single suit. There's 2 of each, which means there's 12 cards per suit, 4 suits, 48 cards. Now, in this game, I told you it's about making points. And you only make points in 2 portions of the round, during the MELD and in battle. MELD is about certain card combinations. If you happen to have these 2, oh, yeah, that's worth points, all right? And so you can get points by certain card combinations. And then in battle, it's about how you play your cards, taking tricks. And I'll explain more in just a bit. So you're going to be making points during the MELD and the battle. Those 2 combined are your round's score. I am going to start by first teaching you what makes points and how to get points. Because how you start the game is going to be based off the knowledge of what kind of points you think you can make. Okay, what kind of cards, when you're holding your hand after they've been dealt, are worth points? So let me show you. In the game, you're going to be handed cards. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to organize them by suit. So put your pigs together, your dogs together, your cats and your rats together, and then put them by order of strength. So your kings all the way through to the bakers. So you can help organize it. And when you look at your hands, what is worth points in your hand? You could be sitting on a gold mine. So what do you look for? Let's look at the cards. So if we look at a suit, so here's pigs. In a suit, there's 6 distinct cards. if you happen to have the king, queen, priest, warrior, spy, you don't even need to have the baker, but if you have these 5 cards, that is a family, okay? A family is only worth points if it is in the high suit. What is the high suit? First, it's important to understand what is the high suit. At the very beginning of the game, one suit is going to be decided to be the high suit. The risk taker, which I'll tell more in just a moment, the risk taker will declare the high suit, meaning that if pigs are declared the high suit, what that means is for this round, the pigs are more powerful than the other suits. Every round, one suit will be declared the high suit. So what that means is that, let's say a king is played, just a lowly baker in the high suit will be able to beat that king because it's the high suit. If a family is in the high suit, if you happen to have one king, one queen, one priest, one warrior, one spy in the high suit, that is worth 150 points. If you happen to have a baker in the high suit in your hand, that's worth 10 points. There's 2 of them, so there's 20 points that could be made just from the baker. Now, let's say you just have a king and a queen in the high suit. That's worth 40 points because it's in the high suit. Well, let's say you have a king and a queen in another suit, but it's not the high suit. Is it worth points? Yes, it's worth points. This is called a common marriage. In the high suit, it's called a high marriage. If you have a family, king, queen, priest, warrior, spy, you have a king and a queen, you have a high marriage in it. Is it worth 150 plus another 40? No, it's not. The king and queen that is in your family is already accounted for, those points. But if you happen to have an extra king on your family, that's worth 20 points. If you happen to have an extra queen, that's an additional 20 points. So there's points to be made just from the high suit. Any marriage in a suit, they have to be the same suit, is worth 20 points. Those are called common marriages. Next is what we call treachery. If you happen to have these 2 cards in your hand, you know what 2 of those are? If you happen to have the Baker of Rats and the Queen of Cats, these 2 cards together, if you happen to have those 2 in your hand, that's 40 points. If you happen to have both Queens of Cats and both Baker of Rats in your hand, that's worth 300 points. It's a great thing to have. Then there's something called a Council of Kings. And that means, do you have a king in every single suit represented? If you have one king in every suit, that's worth 100 points. If you have a full council, that means you have both kings. You have every king in the whole deck. It's in your hand. That's worth 300 points. Next is, do you have a council of priests? If you have a priest in every single suit, that's worth 80 points. Council of warriors is 60, 40 for the spies. Council of spies, council of bakers is full council is when you have every single card of that particular card. Now you might be thinking, how am I going to remember this? Well, thankfully, you have a reference card. Every player has their own reference card. You can also look at the back of your rule sheet. And there is everything I just shared. These are all points that can be made from what's just in your hand at the deal. Next are the points you can make in battle. You ready for this? Lastly, points can be made in battle. In battle is where you face off against your opponents using the cards you have in your hand. Maybe you remember the game War, where each player turned over a card and the highest card took both cards. That is called a trick. So in other words, when all the cards are played, the highest card takes it. And that's the basic premise of battle. And I'm going to share with you in a bit the rules of battle. There are just two, easy to remember and very important for play. So when you head into battle, you're going to be playing out your cards. Tricks will be taken. And at the end, after all the cards have been played, everybody's going to pick up the cards that they won. And they're going to count every king, queen, and priest. Each one of those is worth 10 points. If you picked up warriors, spies, and bakers, those are worth 0 points. Now, you will notice that every king, queen has a little star next to it, as opposed to a warrior and a spy, there's no star. Okay, that will help you. But there is a tricky one, and that's the priest of rats. This priest is worth 10 points, but there is no star. If you forget to count it, that's on you. It's probably important for you to understand that if all the cards are played in battle, that means there's 24 total kings, queens, and priests that will be counted for. And each one of them's 10 points. That means there's 240 points that can be made in battle. And also, the very last trick taken is worth an additional 10 points. So whoever takes the last trick gets 10 points. That means in battle, there's 250 points available to the players. So now we're at the place where you now know the objective is to make points. You know where points can be found in card combinations and how many points you can make in battle. Now we come to the risk. It's the very first part. So I told you there's 3 parts to every round. There's the risk, the meld, and the battle. The risk is what sets the stage for that entire round. And it starts with a bid. Okay? How it starts is the person left of the dealer has 3 choices. As they look at their hand, they can open, they can pass, or they can call a throw-in. What it means to open is they are declaring, I'm going to open, I think I can take 250 points. I say 250 because that's the opening bid when playing 4-player. When playing 3, it's 200. When playing 2 players, it's 150. So when he opens, or she opens, they're saying, I think I can do 250. Now the risk is if everybody passes, well, that means they have to get 250 points. If you do not get 250 points, you at round's end go minus 250 points. So why on earth would you want to be the risk taker? Why put yourself out there like that? Well, because there's 3 perks to being the risk taker. First is the risk taker gets to declare the high suit. All right? They're the ones who get to say, pigs for this round is a high suit. Dogs for this round is a high suit. They pick one. And through that round, that is the high suit. Why would they pick that? Is because they're picking what would give them points and a powerful hand in battle. So they get to declare the high suit. Secondly, they get the bounty. And I'll cover that in just a moment. And lastly, the third perk is they get to lead out in battle. All right? So there's 3 perks. But you're putting yourself out there with the risk taker. So you have an option. I'm going to open. Let's say you opened. Say you open.
I open it. 250.
Okay, Clint's now looking at his hand and he says, do I think I could make 270 points or 260 points?
251.
No. Okay, yeah, good point right here. So when we bid in 10-point increments. So he could say 260. Heck, he could jump, say 300. So he says 250. What are you going to say?
260.
Dave does not have a good hand this round. So
Okay,
Dave
so-
would like to say pass.
Does Dave say pass?
Dave says pass.
Dave says pass. Trent, what you going to do?
I know my partner's bidding, but I like my hand, so I'm going to say 270.
Jamin, what do you say?
That's too rich for my blood. I'm gonna pass.
No, okay. Your partner just passed.
Yes.
Okay, now I know you have a terrible hand, but you could give it to him at 270. Here's the thing. Sometimes you can't get 270 points. It's true. But you don't want to necessarily just give the other team the risk, because remember, you're wanting to set them. So this is part of the art of the bluff. So you may want to say, look confident and say, I'll do...
I think I'll do 280.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, he's a player. He's a player here. Now, you had opened, now it comes back to you, 280,
We're gonna pass.
and you're going to support your partner. So he's now all behind Trent over here. So what did you say last, 280?
280.
Oh, and he wants it. Comes back to Trent at 280. Look at his face. Look at this. This is a player right here. Oh, look at the lip quiver. This is good. This is good.
290.
This is part of the bluff. You want to bring them up and then drop them like a hot potato. And sometimes you really do want the risk and you'll keep going. So what are you going to do? Does he want this bad enough, do you think? Or do you think he's going to drop it on you?
Let's go 290.
Oh, this is good. This is good.
300.
300. Holy mackerel. All
300.
right. Comes to you, Trent.
I know you don't want that.
I know.
310. With confidence.
I advise you to pass.
I'm gonna pass.
You should pass. There will finally be a risk taker. Once everybody passes, one will be left. And what happens is on the score pad, we put down at the very top, there is the risk. How much did they get the risk for? Say it was 350. That's where it ended. That you put 350 there. And the next thing below it is, what is the high suit for this round? That is the first responsibility of the risk taker, is to declare the high suit.
I declare dog.
We put that down on the score sheet. But first, let me say this. If you get a hand and you don't want to open because you don't like your hand, you can pass, or you can call a throw-in. A throw-in is basically where you're saying, I don't like my hand. And if everybody calls a throw-in, then we're going to do a redeal. It's kind of nice, isn't it? So if you call a throw-in, but somebody says, I'm going to open 250, they like their hand. You can still, when it comes back to you, you can still bid, okay? The bounty. What is the bounty? The bounty is a beautiful opportunity for a player that is maybe one card away from getting a family, or they're hopeful that maybe this bounty will give them something that will be beneficial to their hand of play. In two-player, how it's dealt, there's going to actually be two cards that are set aside, face down, no one sees. The risk taker, after they declare the high suit, they get to pick up those two cards and exchange it for any two cards in their hand. They take their two cards where they put their tricks, and those can be counted at the end of battle. In three-player, it's three cards. And in four-player, usually you're playing with teams. If you're not playing with teams, it will be four cards in the bounty. In four-player, with teams, after the high suit is declared, the partner of the risk taker will select their four best cards that they get to pass across to their partner. The risk taker gets to take and look, and they can either keep, they can exchange out, but when they pass back those four, then we move into the MELD. We move into the MELD, and that's where every player puts down face up in front of them all their points. Every points that they have in card combinations go face up. Once everything is face up, the scorekeeper counts up either each player's melds or a team's meld together. It's their 2 points together that constitute their meld score. After points are tallied, Each player, each team puts their score under the MELD. After that, cards are picked up and we move into battle. Now there's a moment after the MELD is laid down. It's called the time of decision. If the risk taker sees that there is no possibility that they are going to get their risk, they can fold and stop that round right there and right then. Now, why someone would want to do this is if they know they can't get it and they play out that round, the other team not only gets their MELD, but they get all the points they would get in battle. Now what we do is the risk taker gets to lead off in battle. Now there are 2 rules in battle. Number 1, the first is you must follow suit. All right? So what happens is if somebody puts down a dog, you have to play a dog. You have to follow suit. Well, what if you don't have a dog? Well, here comes the second rule. You have to beat it if you can. If a queen of dogs is played, number 1, you have to follow suit. You have to play a dog. Secondly, can you beat it? Well, what would beat a queen? Well, a king. So if you have a king, you have to play it. Well, what if I don't have dogs? Well, let's say, for example, pigs was the high suit. Well, any pig will do. A baker pig can be played because that can beat the dog. So you have to follow suit and you have to beat it if you can. The question's going to arise, well, what if I play a queen and then somebody else plays a queen? Well, who gets it? The first one laid takes it. In battle, the risk taker will lay down a card and every player must play. The highest card of all of those takes it. That's called a trick. That trick is set aside. Whoever takes that trick leads out. So if my opponent takes that one because they beat me, they pick up those cards and they lead out. And so battle goes until all the cards are played and all the tricks taken. Players will pick up all the cards that they won in battle and they will count out every king, queen, and priest. Every one of them is worth 10 points. The last trick taken is worth 10 points. And they put their score under the battle. At the end of the round, we add up both the MELD and the battle, and that is their total score for that round. But the risk taker has to look at, did they get what they risked? If they do not get that amount, they go minus that amount. And that's the whole goal of the opponent, is to set them. When you deal, you're going to deal 5 cards to each player. 2 cards in 2 player are set aside for the bounty. The undealt deck put face down right here. Now how this is played, if to Trent deal it, the opponent gets to pick up the first card. And you can look at it. Okay? So now he looks at it and he asks the question, do I want to keep this? Or do I want what's behind door number 2?
I'm keeping it.
You're keeping it. Okay, he's keeping it.
But I get to look.
He picks up the second card. He looks at what he doesn't get. What he could have had, what he wanted in the discard. Pick up this next card. He got the Queen of Rats. Does he want to keep it? Let's say you discard it. You don't want it. That means he has to pick up, and whatever he picks up next. So he had the Queen of Rats. He exchanged it for the Baker of Rats.
Well,
poor decision. We go through this until all the cards are set. The person opposite of the dealer has the choice to either open, pass, or call a throw-in. And we... Now in dealing 3-player, okay, what happens is we shuffle maybe twice. You don't want to over shuffle it. And you deal out, in bunches of 3. Now remember, he is going to set aside 3 cards face down off to the side, which will be the bounty. Deal out all the cards. Now, as opposed to playing 2-player, these are your cards. You don't have a partner. Everybody's on their own. Now, truth be told, you can actually play 4-player. Just set aside 4 cards if you want to go 4 head-to-head, where you don't play partners. And so there you have it. That's how you play Pigs and Rats. You guys, thank you for taking the time. Enjoy Pigs and Rats. Go to markludy.com to learn more and to be able to print off more of these score pads if you need to. Have a great one.